What the hell was that? I'm still just in complete shock after watching this Sony State of Play because it was just such a weird mix of some very good looking games and some stuff that just seems like utter garbage. So do I go positive with this or do I go negative and rip it apart? Maybe I can do both. What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and let's go deep onto this State of Play. Now first and foremost, we knew kind of what we were getting into. Before this actually began, Sony was very nice to say that this is going to be about third-party stuff and indie games. Basically, nothing from Sony directly, which means that we weren't going to get any updates on stuff like Ghost of Tsushima, we're not seeing new God of War, we're not seeing Horizon Forbidden West. That's totally okay. My issue is that some of the games they showed today are so boring, they're so lackluster. Why would you decide to advertise them in such a way with such a gigantic spotlight? Right now, there's a lot of gamers that are wondering, is now the time to buy a PlayStation 5? And I guarantee you that most of these trailers, if they saw them, they're not going to do it. You should have shown off more stuff that was bright and flashy and giant. Now let's talk about some of these games. They showed off 12 different projects today of varying degrees of quality. Like some of the stuff I thought was pretty dang cool. Let me start things off with an actual positive one, SIFU. This is a martial arts combat-y style game. It's a brawler. You go around beating people up, trying to use really tactical looking fights to just drop people in some really gorgeous ways. I think that the combat in this seems so incredibly tight, so incredibly gorgeous, but the mechanic in this that really catches my eye the most is that every time you die in this game, you age up a little bit. You get a little bit older. It seems like maybe you get hospitalized, and this is the amount of years it takes to retrain your body and retrain your mind for that next big attempt. I think this is a very good concept, although in this trailer they also announced that it's being delayed, which kind of sucks. Now other games they showed off today were just not as polished as this game, which is why it kind of stands out in my mind. Stuff like there's this multiplayer shooter called Arcadegeddon, which is coming out today and looks so incredibly bland. Tribes of Midgar looks decent. They did do this big gigantic teaser trailer for this Diablo style game that's more set in like a Viking mythology that's set up with these seasons of content. It sounds like each chapter of this game, or maybe even like real life months and weeks, are called sagas that have unique storylines, unique magics and runes and effects that makes it where every time you come back to play the game, it's going to be a little bit different. Now, as a mega junkie of Diablo, this game looks pretty decent. Unlike other stuff like Hunter's Arena, this is some weird freaking game they showed off that's apparently like demon slaying battle royale. The general idea seems to be trying to take down these bosses that are randomly spawned, but also trying to kill other players for experience points and to take their items. Look, there's so many battle royales right now that making a magical Dark Souls battle royale, I just still can't quite care. One of the games that they showed today that was probably the most confusing to me was called Jet the Far Shore. Now, I don't want to just completely bash a random indie project, but part of the reason it confuses me is because they say straight up, this is a discovery and exploration game, but they make it sound like it's going to have absolutely no combat, no sort of resources, no fuel. You just kind of float around looking at pretty things. And this is kind of my issue, is that with the PlayStation 5, you keep telling us that this is the future of gameplay, that the reason we have things like adaptive triggers and crazy insane graphics is to try and push the boundaries of realism and gameplay, right? Well, why are you just showing me games that probably aren't even going to use any of the buttons on the controller itself? Stuff like this just seems like something that would be good to drop a trailer or maybe show it off in a bigger like teaser reel, but giving them such a gigantic spotlight was such a weird choice. Now I want to talk about Lost Judgment. I'm extremely excited for this. If you're a newer subscriber to the channel, or perhaps you didn't know this, I'm obsessed with Yakuza. I think the Yakuza games are some of the best open world games that ever existed. Getting a chance to explore this like almost simulation levels of Japan, taking down targets and stuff, that's incredibly fun. But the idea behind this one is that we're a detective investigating another case. The first Judgment game was incredibly good. It's seriously just so polished, and this seems to be that, but with even more cases, even more mystery, and a lot of new minigames, including dancing, boxing, skateboarding. Like, Lost Judgment seems to be just another completely random insane-a-thon, and I'm definitely going to get in on it. This is seriously one of my most hotly anticipated games of the entire year, but it feels a bit weird from a tone direction to have like this murder mystery martial arts game, and it's shown in the same presentation as Moss 2, this like Zelda knockoff, cutesy, colorful game for PSVR. Like, having these things in the same presentation just feels really off. Now, they decided to end this with a 9-minute trailer for Deathloop, and I want to talk about this in depth because Deathloop is a very unique project. Now, part of the reason it's kind of strange that Deathloop was here is just because this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive being made by Arcane and Bethesda, which means that technically this is an Xbox studio making a PS5 exclusive. So it was a bit funny today to actually see all these Xbox executives telling us to watch the state of play. And I'm going to say this right now, I'm actually completely on board with Deathloop now. I think it's going to be a niche game. I do think it's probably going to sell like absolute trash, but this Deathloop presentation, it's definitely finally clicking into place for me. It's definitely making sense. So the idea behind Deathloop is that Colt is a hero and he's stuck on this island called Black Reef. Within this tropical vacation spot, there seems to be these different evil scientists called the Visionaries that you need to find and kill. If you manage to wipe them all out in a single day, then congratulations, you get to escape the island. But if you screw up, if you fall, if you die, or if you just don't take out one of these people before they can escape, the day repeats. Deathloop is a gigantic time looping game, and I love time loop stories so freaking much. It's cool as an idea, but the part of this presentation that really just grabbed my attention the most, and the reason I think this game is going to be incredibly polished, is because they really managed to get a chance to display that information and planning out your attack can be just as deadly as the bullets in your gun. And they showed us some very specific examples of this. So it seems like your character is able to pick up items, he's able to figure out new information and stuff, and when you die, even though the day resets, you get to keep that in your mind. So something they showed is like there's a gigantic masquerade ball. People are wearing costumes and of course masks covering their face, and you have a target that's somewhere within the building. Well, if you choose to memorize their mask and memorize their outfit, then when you rewind the day, maybe you'll get a chance to spot them earlier on before they get a chance to reveal themselves and maybe take them out in a much easier fashion. There also seems to be some like magical devices that let you do things like teleports, take down targets, or even one they showed today is a gentle rewind. Instead of making it where when you die, the whole day restarts, this lets you get an extra 2 chances. So dying just sets you back 30 seconds. So you can basically do like a short range teleport through time. This seems like such a great toolkit to allow you to sort of create your own pathway through all this chaos and carnage that we have to unleash. And while I think that's good, I have a feeling that Deathloop is just going to completely bomb. The game just seems so artsy and scientific and stealthy, and sometimes gamers are just not down for it. In fact, I saw some people kind of tweeting hate already, calling it snooze loop or sleep loop, and that's just kind of the price you pay with a more niche game, even with a lot of polish on top. Overall, this was a very mixed bag. I think a lot of these indie games I'm never going to try. I'm just being completely clear. They don't catch my attention. They don't seem fun. Even if you have a 2D mech fighter or whatever the heck, it just doesn't look like my cup of tea. These very bland, not incredibly glamorous indie experiences just seem too flat to really do anything to make my PlayStation 5 push its limits. They did decide to show off more about Death Stranding, which was cool to see more of like the Death Stranding director's cut, but this is, again, just one of those things that feels weird to have this incredibly high budget, incredibly well done remastered version of a game that already exists next to these incredibly boring indie game trailers. Like, why would you sandwich so much love with so much just flatness? These have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. I just wanted to talk about it because this is just such a weird press conference. I don't know what to think about it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. There were definitely some good games here today. There's definitely some stuff I'm going to buy. I'll tell you straight up, I'm buying Deathloop. I'm definitely buying SIFU. I'm definitely going to be buying that Lost Judgment, and I'm definitely buying Death Stranding Director's Cut. The rest of this can probably go to the garbage can. But tell me which games you enjoyed today in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Oh man, what a weird show indeed. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.